listening to the world famous White Roof Radio with cast number 691 for Friday, July
21.
Friday,
20.
July 21st, Friday. This is for Friday, July 21st. Just to make sure everybody's clear, this is for Friday. This isn't for Thursday. This isn't for Wednesday. This one is for Friday, July 21st, 2023. Listener supported. Hey everybody, it's Stevie in Arizona with a brand new episode of the world famous White Roof Radio. Good pal Todd Pearson is joining us as usual. Todd, say hi.
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, of course. And we've got Gabe from MotoringFile.com, the world famous Gabe Bridger.
Hi, how are you?
Good. We don't have Chad. He's roller skating or something. I don't remember what he was doing. I don't remember. But we don't get Chad tonight, which is totally fine because all we have tonight is just nothing but like new mini stuff.
Well,
not tonight. Yeah. It's actually today because it's Friday.
It's today.
We've already covered that.
We're laser focused, Stevie. We're laser focused on one thing.
One thing.
It's our first look at the new Mini. The new.
I
Mini
thought it was the 1 millionth F56 being delivered in Canada.
Did that happen? So
yeah, I mean, there's that. Or I thought it was how BMW and Mini recycles entire cars. We're not laser focused on that.
Yeah, we'll talk
about this. What about this really creepy AI thing? We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, we should talk about that too.
I don't want to talk about that because that's creepy.
No, I want to talk about that. So, but first off, I do want to talk about the recycling because I went all the way to Munich to see that, and it was actually absurd and crazy and awesome, and I got to blow up a bunch of airbags. But what we have in front of us is the first official look at the next generation Mini, and it's not just one Mini. It's we're looking at basically what will be, with alteration, of course, the interior of all of the new Minis. So it's a big deal if you're a Mini fan. This is like the first actual look at what's coming, and the first look we'll have at a thing we're going to see this forever. So it's always cool when you kind of take the wraps off of something completely new. And I think more importantly, like we talk about the next generation electric Mini Cooper and the next generation Countryman, the next generation ICE Mini Cooper, internal combustion engine. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the outside is fairly, sort of evolutionary. The inside, though, is where the revolution happens. And so the fact we're getting to look at that first is pretty cool. So without delay, you guys, just like that, can see the photos, right?
Yeah.
Yes, just like that.
I just want to know what does that dash feel like?
What? So and I just
that was my question too.
Preface this also. I've actually sat in this car.
Well,
in fact, the article that you can go to MotoringFile right now and read was written inside of this car, as a nice little touch. What we have in front of us is a incredibly simplified, radically, I would say, minimal Mini interior that in many ways is a direct correlation with the 1959 Mini, much, much more so than we've seen in any of the previous generation new Minis.
Agreed.
Centered on this entire thing, giant, I think 20s. I don't know how big I can't remember the actual diameter, but a OLED display, the first circular OLED display in any car. I cannot legally talk about the digital experience yet.
Okay.
Come back next Thursday and you're going to hear all about it ad nauseum.
Okay. Can you talk about the size of those external rear view mirrors?
I can tell you that they're different.
Yeah, okay.
They're actually smaller than the current gen. They're not as tall.
Oh, okay.
They're like bulbous.
Yeah, they're a little flatter.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the animation that's going from one to the other. This is actually super dope. This is kind of like where all the new electric cars are going anyway, and I'm really happy to see that Mini's actually embracing this hardcore, because this is the car of the future. This is a space car. That's what the interior looks like. It's like the inside of an Ioniq 5 or Ioniq 6. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's like the inside of that. Super, it's just really clean and cool.
This is the most minimal.
Ioniq 6 though, 2 screens, very different, and I think that car's really fascinating. This is a really simple. There's no cluster anymore.
This is minimal.
So you want a speedometer.
Very minimal. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. This is literally, it's like there's a car of tomorrow today.
It's streamlined, and I think the people who and it's funny because I see these cars being delivered, all the time at the dealer because I'm working in the showroom and whatnot, and I hear this from customers. Usually, I hate to say it, it's older people that are overwhelmed by like the current generation of Mini, how much stuff is there. So you've got the display above the steering wheel, the old tachometer, which now has, all your information in it. You've got the center screen. You may or may not have a head-up display. And then you've got all of the buttons and everything everywhere. And I think for a lot of people, it's overwhelming. So what I see in this new design is a much more streamlined, basic, like, you're going to do what you want to do. Now, the confusing part here for a lot of people is going to be, how do I control the heat and the air? Because it's not.
It's all going to be in the screen. Right?
It's not readily evident just by taking a glance. How's that?
Right.
So I can tell you. But I think I'd break embargo if I talked about.
Yeah, you probably can't.
Okay,
which is totally fine.
Well, we can talk about what we see here. You don't really see. No, but
I will say this. Actually, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So I'll say this because it's a really good question, and I can unlock this a little bit in terms of the experience. So if you look at the screen, and you may want to look, Todd, at some of the images down below. Yeah. Which, no, they're not there yet, but there is. So number one, the screen is incredibly crisp and incredibly responsive, which is, I think, obviously fantastic. But one of the things that I think is particularly really, really great is the, how do I put this? If you look at the screen, I'm trying not to say anything I can't, and imagine how you can change functions without having to click and go to another screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I've got this zoomed in, so it's really pixelated, and I can barely actually see it. But I see how there's a control for the driver and a control for the passenger side, and it looks like really just like a touch target, and you just reach over and just like adjust it to the red to make it warmer and to the blue to make it cooler. It seems pretty cool to me. Easy access. I mean, it's just like I mean, my mom would see that and probably still not know what the hell to do because mom's really old. But you know what I'm saying. Most people my age would get it.
You could absolutely imagine that being the case. Another thing that's really cool about modern interaction design is often there's micro interactions. And I say that if you, and I think that a lot of a lot of screens, a lot of experiences that have the heating and cooling kind of behind a menu suck because you have to click it, you open a screen, and in that screen there's menus, and you have to figure out what the hell you're doing.
Right.
But what if you didn't have to open a screen and instead you're able to click on it and just very quickly change functionality and turn on heated seats without having to like take over the entire screen?
Right.
I think there's a thing here, like there's a next generation of experiences that take the digital concept, which we all hate, and I think make it palatable.
Well, and I think
it's what they're doing. Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think what for me, for being an iPhone user, it is what happened when they got rid of the home button. Okay, and initially you're like, wait a minute, how do I navigate now? Like, what do I? And you kind of rethink and say, it really is more seamless than it used to be when you had the old button there. And so I'm just trying to use an analogy here and say, I think
that's a good one.
I think what we've got here is like an evolution towards, this is going to make it a lot more simplistic and usable, if you will.
Well, I think you're right to say it mirrors what we were expecting on the iPhone. If you look at how the interaction works, and just imagine. So if you look at that like dock, for instance, in the bottom, and you see the 4 dots, well, that's probably the app page. Yeah. Where you can see all the apps, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine where, like, if I don't want, I don't know, music down there, and maybe I want to have Spotify there instead, I could drag that app into that spot, for instance.
Yeah, but like for the controls for basic things that we're used to having actual controls for, what it looks like they're doing is finally getting around to mimicking a physical button, but in a digital form. So instead of having to drill down through 14 different menus to find the controls for the seats or for the air conditioning, where normally it would just be right there on the dash, or for the heated seats, there'd just be a button down next to your seat. Well, they're just replicating that. They're just doing it on a screen.
I'm assuming,
right? And as opposed to, and without hiding it behind a zillion different menus.
I know. Yeah. And we should probably stop talking about the digital stuff so much so we don't get Gabe in trouble.
Exactly.
But I'm really gritting my teeth right now.
Because I can understand that, and we all want to know those things because that's how we interact with the car. We make it do things, and I'm a big fan of voice command in my house, and I'm not going to say it right now because like 6 devices will answer. But when I say, "Hey Sally, do this," or whatever, or "Hey Dingus, do this," because everything in my house, from my thermostat to my lights to my television, all of those things are voice controlled, and my wife and I use it all the time to do literally everything. Like, hey, turn this light on, and it instantly comes on. It is not the clunky idea it was 10 years ago. It's very useful and it's very functional. And so I can imagine that in the Mini of using voice commands to do a lot of this.
And that's actually, and I think this is a bad analogy because I think the current generation, even the brand new 7 Series I just had, is the digital experience there is clunky.
I thought that was a Maybach. I thought that was a Maybach.
No, it's funny.
It looks a little bit like a Rolls Royce, though. You can start to see the Rolls Royce, not to get off topic.
It looks like a Rolls or a Maybach on the back.
But what's interesting though is that that has that same thing, Todd. So you can do a lot of various things with voice control. The problem I had with that car is I don't know what I can and cannot do. I also don't know what they call it. Like, are they sunshades or are they sun blinds?
Right.
Do I say it's little things like that? And there's a learning curve, and once you get there, you'll figure it out. And I did over some time, but I think what we see especially with Gen AI as well, is that it starts to understand. It literally learns from you, and it starts to sort of create a larger kind of repository of commands, if you will. It understands, connectivity between this means that means this, etc. I don't know if that's part of this Mini, actually.
Yeah,
I actually legit don't know that, but I can imagine a day when that will be part of it for sure. And if that 7 Series, which is a gen behind this Mini, by the way, if that's sort of serves as a, kind of like a entree into what this is, like I can imagine how this will be even better.
Okay, so
I know this is a battle. I know this is a battle that we already lost, but I'm just gonna forever miss having toggles for the windows on the center.
I agree.
Yeah, you get used to it, and
you get used to it. I know. I haven't had a car with it since.
You had an F car, so you know.
I had an F car. I know. Let's fine.
I'm curious here what you guys think about the center console or the buttons. Just to start with the buttons themselves. I'm right
fine.
Below the screen.
I'm fine because I think right now that the car is a little busy. The current generation, even in my Countryman, it's a little busy with a lot going on and a lot of different places to do stuff. And I do like that everything's a little more centralized there, right below the screen, a little more accessible. I just want to know where's my phone going to mount to. Although I see down there in the little tray because it's probably got wireless charging.
That's probably QI charging down there.
Yep, it's wireless charging. So that's actually that's a good segue, Todd, into something that we're gonna go to the past for a second.
Okay.
If you look at that image. On MotoringFile, right below all those toggles. We'll talk about the toggles in a second. You'll notice the charging area where you can lay your phone. There's 2 USB-C ports. You also notice a cup holder there, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, that is actually part of a system that can be taken out.
Oh, don't tell me the rail is back. The rail is back.
The rail is
back.
And we have a show title.
So what's interesting about this is, yes, the rail is back, but it's much smarter than it was before. So for instance, you don't have to have anything.
I'm not going to be able to get sushi from the back seat?
You don't have to have anything, and that's a deep cut, by the way.
Yeah.
You don't have to have anything in the rail for it to be usable. It's just it's a big container. And it comes with a cup holder, and if you don't have anything else, it's great. It's just like a space to put stuff. But it also doesn't look weird. It doesn't extend to the back seat. It's just a simple area where you can, if you want a larger cup holder, for instance, if you want a third one, you can add that in. If you want storage compartments, you can add that in as well. So, theoretically, the promise of the rail made a lot of sense. It was very cool. In my mind, it was let down by the accessories.
Yeah.
But there was just nothing really
useful. Yeah, there was nothing useful, terribly useful about it.
Yeah. But conceptually, like, if I like, drink from a Nalgene bottle every day, and like literally that's what I drink every day, and like, I can just buy a Nalgene bottle holder from Mini and pop it in there. Yeah, that's great. I'll do that. That's fantastic. What a nice ad for me, and Mini makes $50 or something. So it's definitely pack, but what is really interesting about it is like, so what's not there? So the shifter's not there, right? There's no shifter anymore in the center. There's no armrest in the center either. The armrest is actually sprouting out of the right side of the driver's seat.
Okay.
It's small, but it is useful. Like I've sat in this car, and I'll get to the seats in a second. But it works. It's actually kind of perfect.
So is there another option for an armrest for the passenger seat then?
Not that I am aware of. They didn't have that at the in any of the vehicles I saw.
Yeah.
It is just the driver's seat. Why would the passenger seat need to rest? Or passenger, they're resting as it is. What the hell are they doing?
I know in my Countryman, and it's a completely different animal when you get to that stage, is that the armrest in the center that you lean on, which is like the whole console there in the middle, it really is large enough and wide enough for both the driver and the passenger to use at the same time. I mean, you can both kind of rest your elbow on
Yeah.
But
no, I did. I did. I mean, I did. Well, no, never mind. I can't say anything else.
Don't even say anything else. This just seems like
this.
minimal, and I'm not used to it. Like in our hardtop, it's much a thinner armrest in the center that you really don't share with the passenger.
This one you won't share with like an insect. Like it's small. Like I guarantee you the people will complain. The people will complain about it. The people who complain, I don't want them as friends because I think that's just stupid. You're lazy.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. Like, listen, it's a smaller, lighter, simpler thing, and it replaces a bigger, heavier, chunkier object, which, in a lot of ways wasn't needed. And I can only say this because I've sat in it and I've used it. It's fine. It works just fine.
Good.
The seats, however, I got to say, and I question Mini on this, point blank, do not have any thigh bolster at all, which I'll say this ad nauseum. I'm 6'2". Like I use that thigh bolster every time I'm in a Mini if it has it.
I'm with you, but everybody else I know, awesome. Gabe, it closes them up, and I don't, and it bugs me.
Yeah. Well, so they did the research.
They did the research.
I use them in all my cars.
We're in the minority.
I'm an outlier. We're all outliers, I guess, because they looked at this and said, and this was a relentless thing that Mini did, which I applaud them for in a way. They looked at this and said, how can we simplify this car? And it's not just about cost. It's about experience. It's about lightweight. It's about all the things that the original Mini was. And so they worked, I don't know this, but I'm sure they worked with their seating supplier, which I would just assume is Recaro, which, has a parent company that also does seats, but, one of those companies. And they just said, this is what we want to do. We want to think about how can we replace this thigh bolster with a seat that just works for everybody. And so I saw that, and I was, I questioned it, and I sat down on the seat, and, sure as whatever, yeah, it does feel better. Like, it doesn't feel as good for me at 6'2" with the thigh bolster all the way out, but it feels way better than any Mini seat without them I've ever felt.
It's interesting.
And it's very passable.
It's interesting because I've watched people come into the Mini dealer before shopping for cars, and I've seen this on multiple occasions where they're like, all right, I just want to sit in it. And they'll take one seat, and they're, grab the steering wheel and kind of try and adjust the seat or whatever. And they're like, nope, I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. Thanks. And they walk out of the dealership. That is it.
Wow.
And I get that, because if it's not comfortable for you, why in the world would you spend $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a car if it's not comfortable? And so they're trying to make it as mass appealing as possible. And I guess from what you said, Gabe, they've kind of hopefully hit the sweet spot.
In my limited time with it definitely felt like that was the case. And also, I'll say this: as you scroll further down on the MotoringFile article, you'll see the seat itself, and you'll see the armrest. By the way, the bolstering is still. It's not like it's not aggressive. Like it still feels like a sports seat. The design of the seat feels a little bit closer in shape to the JCW, but it still has a movable headrest. And I think this is really crucial. In the car that I was in, it was, the material quality was completely different. So there's no more leather in minis. And this is another topic I wanted to touch on, which I think a lot of people, and I mean, it's amazing it is amazing who will die on what hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's so many people here like, well, Mini's going vegan, and they immediately take that as like an absolute assault on their
Mini's going woke.
Minis, yeah, exactly.
Right. Listen, I mean, I love a rare steak. Like personally, I love I will drink that blood.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
Sounds gross. I will. But if you were to tell me that you could put a product that's better than leather, that lasts longer, that feels as good, doesn't get as hot in the sun, and is environmentally friendlier, why would I not want that?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, because then you'd be woke.
Well, yeah.
Or walk. I don't know.
And you wouldn't be able to go to. You couldn't go to Florida.
But I think
Sorry,
to me,
that was really bad. Probably cut that out.
Yeah, you should probably cut that out. But to me, like I listen, I'm not trying to like turn this into something bigger than it is. If it's a better product, then why would I not want that?
Right.
And what I felt in the new, and I was on Leatherette, or there's a new name, and for the life of me I can't remember it, unfortunately. But same product essentially. It's a new generation. What I felt in my hands was better than the standard leather, quote unquote leather, that Mini uses. And I don't know if a lot of people know, and everybody in this podcast knows, but the leather on the standard leather on Minis, and like any car, it's leather at the veneer level. It's very, very thin. And so, yeah, it's leather, but like you're not getting like real leather. Like the lounge seats in Minis are like, that's actual leather through and through.
Right.
It's beautiful. It doesn't have a fake grain on it. Like it's really well done, but that's expensive. Any other leather, like it's barely leather, and you're getting the worst part of leather. The surface, it's just hot, it's sticky. Versus leatherette, which I've been saying in this podcast forever, that leatherette's going to be floating on in space when the Earth is gone. Yeah. It's never going to degrade. Like it lasts forever. But this new generation feels better. Feels like leather, and the steering wheel. In fact, I question the folks at Mini. I'm like, there's no way this is not leather. It feels like the finest BMW Napa leather I've ever felt.
Right.
And no, it was just a different grade of the new leatherette. It feels amazing.
And
that sold me on the spot.
Is it heated? Are they going to retain that? Do you know? Can you say? So
I can say, because it was in the interior, it has nothing to do to the digital experience. So I think I can say that it was heated, and the seats are also optionally electric across the entire range as well.
Okay. Yeah, and until you get to most likely, the future when they come out with the JCW, because that's the choice I made with the Countryman, was no power seats because the JCW didn't offer it with the JCW seats. But see, I'd rather have the JCW seats because I like the Alcantara better. They're the most comfortable Mini seats I've ever had.
I totally agree.
So yeah, I get that, and we'll have to wait a while to see. A new JCW interior. In fact, we'll probably
not that long
into this year, right? We should
not
see
that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the JCW will start production next July. In fact, there was a article in MotoringFile just this morning about it. There's two. So let me back up. There's two JCWs. So there's the electric JCW for the J01, which shockingly, I actually spotted and took the first photos of in Munich while I was with BMW.
Yeah, you were just randomly. You're driving down the highway on the way to the hotel, right?
funny story. I'm in a bus. Where was I? I was coming from lunch, I think.
And this is why you need to follow MotoringFile on the internet.
It was on Instagram first. I was with folks. I mean, literally had folks, executives, etc., right next to me, and I looked at that. And I said, "Oh, there's an electric Mini right now. There's a J01," and they were like, "No, I don't think that's a J01." I'm like, "Huh? It looks like what's up with the wing in the back?" And I took my phone out and just snapped some photos from a bus.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, I don't know." And then one guy's like, "Oh, I think that is." And I posted it as a story, I think, initially, and I had a couple of people say, "Oh, I think that might be a JCW." And I looked at it closer. I'm like, "I think it is too." And I had a source, not many internal, but elsewhere, who has some insider knowledge, and that individual did clarify that was a JCW. So it's funny. So that's the J01. That's the electric. So that's going to come probably in about a year. The F66, and this is where, sorry, I don't mean to make people's eyes cross. The F66 is the evolution of the F56. It is a refreshed F56 that will sell alongside the new J01 electric Mini Cooper. So there's going to be two Mini Coopers, one that's electric, one that's ICE, internal combustion engine. The F56, I'm sorry, wow. The F66, the ICE Mini is going to alter the exterior so it looks like the J01, and it's going to radically redo the interior so it looks like the J01.
Yeah.
I say all that to give you context. There's going to be a lot of carryover, and one of the things that I have not written about yet, but I'm hypothesizing, is they're going to probably carry over seats in the F66 because it's just why not?
Economy of scale in that when you get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm guessing we're going to see seats carry over. I'm guessing we're going to see steering wheel. That's a tough one because it's probably interchangeable. But the bigger pieces like this, the seats, I think might stick around.
Okay.
Might. We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm looking at one thing here, and I can see visually is the door handle opening from the inside.
Yeah.
Seems to be in a odd place.
No, it's not.
At least from what we're used to in minis, in minis since 2002, I've had a very high on the door.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Place to open, right? And this is very low on the door now.
So it is lower. It's not. I wouldn't say very. It's lower, but. So again, like I had that same question when I saw it, and I just looking at it and thinking like, okay, so there's a spot for you, and you can see there's that crevice where you put your hand to pull the door closed and to potentially push it forward. The way the door handle is positioned, you actually it's kind of nice because you can grab it and push the door out with your elbow really easily, or if you want, you can with your right hand open it and with your left hand kind of push it out. So it works either way, but that's actually a really nice part of the design. It feels like metal. The lock unlock is right there integrated.
But it's also the first time that Mini, like since 2002, even now to the F56 and the other F60, the F generation has got a traditional like this half moon shape, half a circle.
You're right.
A cup that you pull on, and this is the first evolution beyond that.
Yeah, you're right. There's a couple things like that where, and you get a sense where Mini's like, why are we holding on to this thing?
Yeah,
like it was just it was cool when it came out, but like, it has nothing to do with the 1959 Mini. And that's the thing the designers kept on saying when we looked at this interior, and only the interior. They kept on talking about the 1959 Mini, and you'll see in the MotoringFile article, there's this really cool video that goes from the 1959 to the 2024, the new one, and you'll see the very obvious kind of evolution. Really like it's all the same components in a lot of ways except for the speakers, just evolved. And you get a sense like, oh, okay, so. The whole concept of what Frank Stephenson was after with the R50, for instance, was what if Mini had evolved this whole time? And what would it be like in when he designed it in 1999, and it originally came out in 01, 02 in the US. In a lot of ways, like this is even more focused on that concept. To me, it's even closer to that 1959 Mini. I mean, look at the center console, or I should say the center of the center of the car, the center of the dash, the speedo, and those switches. The switches themselves are almost a perfect match.
Yeah. Well, and so I want to go back to my original question when we first started this. What does the dash feel like? It looks like a giant light bright is what it looks like.
It so yeah. So
it does, doesn't it?
You want to hear something funny? Where's that light coming from?
It's not projected on there, is it? Is it projected?
Anybody care to guess?
Projected from the center up on the ceiling.
Close.
Yeah.
So
from the rail.
No. So what it is, and I was shocked by this, and I think I can talk about this because it was inside the car, and I'm not talking about the digital experience. There's a module behind the screen. Okay. And that module has two little projectors that project patterns on the fabric.
So yeah, that's not. There's nothing electrified in the dash. Then,
correct.
Like, there's no lights behind the dash.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so what's interesting though is that theoretically you have an infinite number of shapes and colors, et cetera, that you could add. I can't talk about anything else it's around that until next week. But
okay, it's cool. But I'd be like, turn that shit off now.
I'm sure you. I don't know this, but I'm sure you can. You can imagine a lot of variability with that.
I can, and I'll say this: I had the lighted dash in my previous car, in my 19 JCW, and it just became a source of annoyance at night because it wasn't dimmable, it was too bright, it was distracting in the car at night, especially. So it'd be like, okay, it was my one. I loved it in the beginning when it was fresh and new, but it's like it became annoying after a while. It's like, all right, that was cool for 5 minutes.
I think the way the Clubman does it is great.
It's much better.
It has
yes,
the illumination on the doors.
Yep.
I think that, but I have it in my Countryman right now, and in fact, it reminds me that it's untamed every night.
But it's not like that giant Union Jack that I had in my 19 hardtop.
Yeah, that's probably a little different.
Was just
but it is. I hear you. Like I personally don't mind it, but I could imagine how it'd be really, really annoying after a while.
Well, and also gone is the excitement ring. And you probably can't say that if it's built into the new digital experience or not, which is fine. But we don't see that light ring around the center display like we used to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will say that I think you're going to find plenty of excitement.
Okay.
throughout the digital experience itself.
Yeah.
But you're right, and in a lot of ways, like what Mini's done here is like, okay, listen, I mean, we're not gonna like we're trying to get away from gimmicks,
right?
We want to try to create something that is just ultimately it's just simpler and more modern. Now, all that said, I'm gonna give you two critiques of this interior in my time sitting in it and experiencing it. I think the first, and this is variable, as you can imagine, the dash patterns can be different options, different colors. Like there's a lot of different ways to change it. I think it's a little funky, like in a bad way. Like so, houndstooth, super cool.
Yeah.
But like how it degrades into like a speckled thing it's
just kind of busy.
For me, like it's like, okay, I see what you did. I get it. I'd rather have you just give me houndstooth, just full on. Like that's cool. That's cooler than this.
Right.
The other thing, well, actually, let me ask you this: what do you think that black thing is?
That little, it looks like a little belt right there that kind of goes.
Yeah. So there's a horizontal line, which are vents, which is a really smart design. I like an awesome design in real life.
Because you don't see any vents at all here.
Right. Yeah. There's another hidden vent as well, just to the right of the steering wheel, which is also super cool. But yeah, but back to what you're saying, Todd, that black thing. What do you think that is?
I have no clue. Biometrics.
No. So
it's a
I'll
thumbprint.
tell you what it looks like in person. It looks like a strap. It looks like,
yeah,
oh,
it just
okay.
looks like
So
a
there's
little-
like a elastic strap, and like if you want like, I don't know, to hold a pen in there, like just hold stuff in there,
Right.
you can do that.
Or
And
a
you know
parking,
how,
a
like,
parking,
mini-
pa- a parking ticket, maybe. You know,
yeah,
like a parking pass.
ticket just got. You know how many? We've talked about this in MotoringFile. Like they're really, really focusing on the form of the car. I'm sorry, the function of the car driving the form.
Mm-hmm.
So the function of the exterior should drive the design of it. Meaning, there's no like fake scoops anymore. There's like no like, like everything is there for a reason.
Right.
Except for that black thing. That black thing is.
it looks like a seatbelt strap is what it looks like when you zoom in.
Well, and I'll tell you what it is. It is absolutely nothing.
Well,
It is a design element.
It's decoration.
It is decoration.
so it's not like a little elastic thing or anything. It's just built in.
It is.
It is.
It is.
So you could
But
tuck
it's
like a little.
Nope. It's
like-
sewn down and it's
Oh,
it's
so you
part of the
can't go
dash.
into a parking garage and then take like your parking pass and tuck it under there.
Nope.
Okay.
That's immediately what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I know.
So the little slot where it goes into is just nothing more than somewhere to collect dust or for bugs to fly into.
I
It-
smell
there's actually no
aftermarket.
slot. It's stitched. It's a tight stitch. Like you can't do anything. It's like part of the fabric.
Coming soon to motoringbadges.com.
Right. I mean, honestly, like get your regalia out. Like, there's something there.
So I'm gonna get a sewing machine and start.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
There's
interesting.
something
Now, it
there.
also, Gabe, it looks like I can't tell here. It looks like there's kind of vents in the A pillar there on the inside. That might be defrost heading to
Yes.
the windows. Is that what that is?
Yeah. There is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And,
So there's a couple
Gabe,
things
it
on
looks
this.
like we're back to the 2-spoke steering wheel.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yes. That's in the
'cause there's-
article. It is a 2-spoke
What's-
steering wheel.
But what's the thing at the bottom? Is it just like is it another strap to carry
It's
it through
another
the strap?
It looks like a scrunchie.
Design-
It looks like a scrunchie.
design language?
It is another strap, and if you take an X-Acto and get rid of it, I'm sure you've decreased the value of your car, but maybe you'll sleep better at night. I
I'm
don't
gonna.
know.
Everything's gonna catch. I'm gonna catch my fingers on that in like a high speed maneuver. That's
Yeah.
what I think is gonna happen.
Doing a reverse
Well,
J
it
turn
is.
or something.
It is. It's
Kinda
very
like Trader
taut.
Joe's.
Okay.
It is very taut.
Okay.
So it's
Well,
it's not
very
like it's
taut when it's
elastic.
new.
Okay.
I can't imagine that staying that way after a couple hot cold cycles and just being in a. Yeah,
I guess we'll
I don't
see.
imagine.
I don't know.
imagine that lasting very long.
We'll see. I mean, I would think the way it's constructed and the way it felt to me that it was. I mean, it's thick. It's not thin. It's pretty robust. But
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean,
okay.
time will tell.
Interesting.
But one thing that I do want to, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. So if you go down the page and there's the photo that has the rail and where you put your phone,
Yep.
and it has the toggles. It has all the various controls, the only physical switches in the car.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to hear what you guys think of that. Again, that was picked up from the original Mini in a lot of ways.
On the far right, it looks like a cigarette lighter.
And that's
then-
the volume on off switch for the
Yeah,
speakers.
and then there's a button that says experiences, which I'm automatically thinking that should have been digital. I don't know why there's an actual physical button for something called experiences. And then I don't know what's next to that, or what's next to that, or what's next to that. And then all the other buttons, they look
I like the
normal.
I like the
defrost and the flashers and that kind of thing.
I think the start button is cool because it looks like a key now, and I'm
Yeah.
sure
Which one's the start button?
it's
Is that
the center.
first-
It's
is
the
that
center
middle
one,
one?
and you twist
Yeah.
it like a key.
This picture's not very clear for me.
or
sorry.
is it a toggle back and forth, Gabe? Do you know?
No, it's a key.
So it's a key.
It's not a real key, but it mimics a key. It's cool.
Right.
And it's funny because I actually like the current gen where you got that big toggle and it glows. I think it's brilliant.
Mhm.
This is a little cooler because it is like a little bit more of a straight like harken back to the old school.
Well, it's just such a-
classic Mini.
It just pisses me off. I get into so many kinds of different cars. If you travel much and you rent cars a lot, and you get into other people's cars and you're moving stuff around, Every freaking car has the start button in a different place. Our entire lives, we grew up, it was on the steering column. You put the key in, you start it. Now they're everywhere. It's on the dash. It's in the console. It's halfway up the console. It's on the behind the steering wheel. There's so many, and BMW is the worst. They keep freaking moving it.
You should try having a Porsche in your garage and constantly jabbing to the right of the steering wheel with a key. Yeah. I agree with you though. Like it's weird. So BMW's moved everything to the center console, and I agree. Like just make up your mind. At least Mini's consistent here, so it's the same spot. It's just a different motion.
Right.
But to the left of that, so let's go all the way left to right.
It's a gear shifter,
so
isn't it?
On the far left side is the parking brake.
A press button is like a electronic.
Press button parking brake. Okay.
Say goodbye to e-brake turns, which that sucks.
Well, doesn't make on for a while.
I haven't had that for a while.
Yep. I mean, it's whatever. And then you've got your your RNPD
shifter,
your gear lever, if you will. That I think actually
is that the big silver thing?
Yeah,
second
horizontal.
So what do you turn it like it's a dial? So you turn it up to R, or do you flip it up?
You push it up to go to R. You push it down to go to P. I'm sorry, to D. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
And having had the automatic, I mean, this is an interesting thing about that too. Is half of the time when I park the Countryman, like I pull into the garage, I'll have my foot on the brake. I won't even put it in park. You just shut the car off, and it goes to park. It doesn't stay in drive mode, and that's the nice thing about the digital, because right now it's the same thing. You just got this giant joystick there that is basically meaningless. It's not doing anything but telling the car what gear it is. And so you just shut the car off and it automatically goes to park for you. And it does the same thing if you're in sport mode and it's over to the left. It's kind of fun when you shut the car off. You watch the gear shift knob go and then kind of go back into place when you turn the car off. So there's almost no need to put it into park. You just shut the car off. And it's probably a dangerous habit to get into, but because
that's what I do.
What if you
especially
don't?
With electric cars?
Yeah, why not? Right?
You don't have to you can a lot of shortcuts there. I agree.
Gabe, and what does the experience knob button thing? What does that actually do? Anything you can talk about yet?
I don't think I can say technically. Although no, wait a second. There's been reviews, and we've written about it on MotoringFile. There's been reviews that have talked about the experiences. So there's different experiences that change the driving experience for the car.
So it's like the button that used to change from sport to green to normal?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
More or less.
Okay.
More or less.
That's because that's the one thing I'm missing here in this car is a mode that you can change. And especially because this is an electric car, you probably want like ultra efficient to where it cranks the AC down. And I know the current electric has that, right?
Yep. Wait till you see what they have used for. God, I can't say it. Check back next Thursday.
Okay.
We'll stop there.
Well, I can tell where you were going to because right now I know when I put it into sport mode, it's funny because you get like a picture of the Mini on a racetrack and it says sport and everything turns red. And you see like the rumble strips there, and it's cool. And the same thing when you go back into normal, into green mode, everything goes green. It's like happy green. There's like a goldfish or some shit like that. I don't know what it is. I never put it into green mode, so I don't know. But I can definitely tell that there's probably an annoying animation or graphic that comes up on the screen when you choose the experience mode, and I can't wait to hear what that is.
No, that's actually not what I was going to say.
Oh, okay, okay.
We'll talk about that next week. I will tell you that you know how we were really concerned about Spike?
Yeah.
I don't think Spike is indicative of the type of sophistication that Mini has gone for in other parts of the car. I'll say that.
Okay.
Happy to say that. But I will say on on the experiences side, I think it's safe to say, and I think it's been said, experiences result is really around more the drive experience.
Mhm.
So there will be other ways to modify your overall experience in the car. But again, next Thursday, check back on MotoringFile.
Okay, now
Way bigger. Like this is a tease.
Yeah,
way bigger drop next Thursday, and then a way bigger drop in a little bit after that.
Okay, now
Cool.
the one thing I can't see in here, Gabe, and I think it's just because the pictures aren't high res enough. It looks like maybe there's a pocket in the door at the bottom there that kind of runs the length of it. Is that what that is?
Yeah, actually, there is.
It's hard to tell. Like the very first picture is the best one where you can kind of see. All right,
Yeah.
there is still kind of a little pocket where you can put stuff down in there.
Yeah, there's on both sides.
Yeah,
there is a pocket, if I recall. Just I'm going off of memory right now.
yeah.
Because the photo is just it's difficult to see, but yeah, there's a pocket. I just remember thinking like they had everything accounted for. I will say again, I gave it away earlier, as somebody who drinks water out of an Nalgene bottle, I was disappointed.
Yeah,
because right now the Countryman, for instance, like
it'll fit right in that couple. That
fits right in there.
Door. Yeah,
But the F56 it can't. And I think they've carried on that tradition.
I have a pet peeve about my door cups in my car, like the door kind of trays there. I don't like anything in there because when you open the door, if a wind comes, things fly out and it rattles and it moves around.
Stuff rattles.
I'm just
That's why the Nalgene bottle is so great, because it fits tight.
Yeah, I'm just.
This is like the 8th time you said. What is it? An
Nalgene.
algae bottle?
Nalgene, dude.
Algae? What?
Nalgene.
It must be a Midwest thing, Gabe, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, it's it's enormous amounts of water. I work out and I need lots of water.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hydrate, guys. Like this is.
At least you don't walk around like some people do with the gallon jug, you know?
No, I don't do that. I hide it. I find those people really frustrating.
I know,
I don't
me
want to
too.
see them. It's really annoying. I try to hide my hydration desires, and I'm really learning. I'm not very good at it, so like that's why I've been very focused on the Nalgene situation.
Yeah.
But so a couple other things really quick on this center console area. So you may be curious, like, what the heck is that? You know, like that looks like a car going over like a something or other on the left hand side. It looks like it's going over a stack of wood. And it's right below the shifter. That is the button, the shortcut to, and I know this because it's the same button in BMWs. So I am hypothesizing, to be very frank, but that is likely the button that directly connects or goes to the driver assistance,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
functions.
Well,
Yeah.
and we know that those are at least potentially increasing in the levels of what should I say? Control of the car. How's that?
Yeah. And we know this. I've reported on MotoringFile. I mean, they're going to be following the BMW method of doing this. So, the car is going to have not just adaptive cruise, but it's also going to have that the ability to kind of course correct, I think, a little bit from what I've heard. I don't know if that's going to be an initial release, but BMWs right now, there's a couple different systems. The one that a lot of cars have, which I love, is it steers for you. So you're on a highway.
Yeah.
You just have to keep your hands on the wheel, which I don't know where you're going to put your hands. And you don't even have to do anything. I just drove out to Wyoming and Montana and back. And I got to say, like, having a car that drives for you and steers for you, and you just have to put your hands on the wheel, it sounds crazy, but it is a material difference in cognitive load.
Yeah.
It really does help.
Yeah.
To the right of that is the camera for parking. So it'll give you a quick view of your rear camera, or if you have other cameras in the car that are optional, like BMWs, it'll allow you to sort of choose which camera you want to look at. Of course, the center hazards, you got that. And critical, and I appreciate there's still buttons, the max defrost and rear defrost. Now, to be critical for a second, there are buttons missing. In my view, heated seats should be buttons.
Right.
I find it crazy they're not. And I recognize that there may be a digital experience that is really simple to use and I think we'll be surprised by that. But still, I wish there were buttons. And then the other is Max Air. There's nothing worse than DB. I mean, like the high here was like 75 today. It's like been gorgeous all summer in Chicago. I don't know what you're going through. I can only imagine, but I can only imagine every day you get in your car, your finger goes directly to Max Air.
No, my wife says I don't like it that cold. I actually like the heat. I get cold otherwise. And in the BMW, the air.
It's 115.
Yeah, and the BMW, it's frozen air blows directly on my hands when I drive that car anyway. So it's worthless to me.
I want to be shivering when I drive.
I can't live in an environment when it's more than 83.
Yeah.
Max Air I have all the time. I love it.
I don't like the sound of air. It hurts my head a little bit, but that's an old guy thing. Don't even worry about me.
I get it. And Gabe,
should I get off your lawn too?
Yeah, it triggers my my tinnitus. Like I said, old guy thing.
Well, what about, is there still a button for the heated steering wheel, Gabe, or is that going to be like in the...
It was, if memory serves me, now I'm like digging deep. There was a button on that.
On the steering column.
Yeah, from my memory, and please, if I'm wrong, don't kill me.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just what I remember.
I'm just guessing at this point.
One of the things that's kind of interesting, if you look closely, you'll see again the vents are pretty cool. There's actually a hidden vent that is controlled by two buttons, physical buttons to the left and right of the screen. The hidden vent is just below the screen, which I thought was pretty cool.
Interesting. And so can you still aim it? Is there a way to like direct it then?
So to the left is your on off. To the right is your ability to turn it up, down, left, right.
Gotcha. Interesting.
You know what? Yeah. I'm just realizing this. This car has to come with heads-up display.
It doesn't have to. It's optional. Wait, did I say that? I don't think I should say that.
You shouldn't say that.
Yeah. It is optional.
Well, you know that big zero that's in the middle, that's probably the speed. Okay.
Yeah,
and
you
also,
can
if I
leave
can point out undisclosed location, clearly, Gabe, you were at an elementary school or a park or something in Munich, because I'm seeing nothing but watermelon in the background.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty hilarious.
Basketball nets.
So I will paint the picture. I think I can do this without any problem. So, get flown in to Munich, and it's a quick turn where, we're literally, it's a couple days, day and a half. You fly into Munich first day, and have lunch, get briefed. And I think we had, if I recall correctly, when you go to Europe, it's like you don't want to sleep right away, even though you maybe slept 4 or 5 hours on a flight. You just have to soldier through it, and it's all about the next day. And in this scenario, I had one full day, which was the day I had with these cars. And so I was able to sleep on the plane, and I just went all out. I'm like, I'm gonna get on an electric scooter and just go through Munich and just stay awake until 9:00, and I'll just crash, because that next day with these cars, I wanted to be fresh. So did it, got up early, and I, got all my stuff sorted, got on the bus, may have seen a JCW, 2025 JCW. And were, as you can imagine, taken to an undisclosed location just outside of Munich in a street called Zeppelinstrasse. Dropped off. We had to hand over our phones. We had to have, I kept my laptop. I had to put a sticker on
the camera,
yada, yada. And we were fed, a couple things, since then I drank enormous amounts of coffee. And we walked into a room, and we were presented, more or less a number of different things, which I can't talk about. And we were given time, which I can talk about, of course, this many. Within the scope of that time, like, as you can imagine, with MotoringFile and MemorFile, I'm very focused on both brands, but because of just the gravity of what Mini's going through in this car, like, I was very focused on this car. I got to the point where, like, I literally sat in the car, like I said, and wrote the article that you can read on MotoringFile in the car, because I wanted to consume every possible, like, square centimeter of this thing. And I probably have missed a fair amount of what I know in the article because there's so much, but that was my plan. That's how it has gone off, and that's where we are today.
Okay,
nice.
There we go.
Thanks for sharing.
So this is
Cool.
this is the new
I'm gonna
mini.
put this up on Wednesday. I hope you don't mind.
So next Thursday, we're gonna have a lot more. I can't tell you exactly what it's gonna be, but it's gonna unlock some mysteries of the interior of this car, and maybe in the center circle area. And I think that's gonna really, really, really be cool for a lot of people. And then fast forward quite a while, about 4.5 weeks, and we're gonna have everything you want to know.
Cool. Super rad. Now I know I just want to scoot along. We're almost done, but I just noticed this is something that I noticed, and I'm curious about it. Is the whole the discounts on Mini Cooper starting to show up? Now we already talked about this during blackroofradio.com, but my question is, I'm seeing an electric Mini parked at a Terrible's filling station, getting a charge, I'm presuming. Terrible's being mostly in Las Vegas. Then the next picture down I'm seeing is this same Mini with California plates parked at the Arizona border. So my question is, what flatbed truck company did they use to actually get this car from Vegas to the Arizona border?
That was actually
did they do to do this?
That was a photo shoot. That was a photo shoot from Mini. That was their car, and they had a guy drive it around and write about it.
There were lots of pictures all over Vegas too, and you can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, Vegas is very distinctive. It's not very big. If you've been around the town, you know what's in the background.
Like, oh wait, I've been there. It's Vegas.
Yep.
But it's
pretty
Terrible's.
cool.
I mean, there's only Terrible's in Vegas, really.
Yeah.
What Mini did, and they continue to do right now, which I think is kind of nice, is they've got a guy who writes, and he gets these cars and drives them for days and writes about it essentially. So that was legitimately driven.
I'm curious how they got it to an Arizona border
without stopping
there's
the charge. There's really nothing there.
There's no way, because it's if let's just say he's in here, it's 100 miles. Because even the closest you could do would be like Blythe, but this isn't Blythe, I could tell. And even so, you have to get it there, and there aren't enough charge points along the way to get it the distance.
I do want to, not to change the topic, but
Go
I
the other
really
way.
do want to talk for a split second about how BMW Mini recycles entire cars, just for a split second.
Which is an amazingly great article. And I'm going to link this one up. So Gabe's going to talk about it for a minute, but really you guys need to go back and read it and check out the pictures, because it is very, very cool.
I mean, it's one of those that there's a lot of time given to this, and people will read about the discount, electric Mini 1,000 times over before this, but this is way cooler in my mind. So for one, and I'll make this quick, BMW recycles cars. So great. Love it. Yeah. They actually, they have the ability to recycle 95% of your car right now.
Right.
Which is insane. Like
That's
95% of your car is recyclable. That has been actually a program that they've developed that's been going on since the early 90s. They've been ahead of anybody in this for a long, long time. Predominantly because people don't want to let go of their cars. I don't know what they do with them. They recycle their own. But if you're in Germany, for instance, and you are like done with the car, you can drive it, ship it, have somebody take it, and have it recycled for free, and BMW will take it and dispose of it for free.
No.
Anybody can do this who has a BMW or a Mini in Germany.
Wow.
They're talking about a similar program in the U.S., but the incentives and the laws are different. Nobody requires it necessarily. California kind of does, but not really in the same way.
Right.
But Germany's like, as you can imagine, just on it. Yeah. Anyway, couple things of note. So for one, I walk in right away, and the third photo down in that article, you can imagine me looking over and looking at that and thinking, wait, what is that? I'm like, that's a Clubman, I think. And I look closer, I'm like, oh my God, that's the original F54 second generation Clubman concept.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's the concept car.
Yeah.
That's about to get crushed.
Yeah.
And so I actually made the photographer take a photo of that. And I don't think she was supposed to, but I don't think anybody noticed. And it got posted, and I grabbed it before somebody would take it down. That's a pretty funny thing to see. Also interesting, just to the right of that, it looks like a 7 Series. That was actually a Rolls-Royce Spectre test mule.
That really long, crazy-looking thing?
That's a 7 Series, yeah, but they had the Rolls-Royce underneath it. But back to the Clubman, so my immediate question was, okay, guys, like I know what this is, and the thing looks in perfect condition. The tires are shot. How can I buy that? Can I buy that? And I was like, oh, we don't sell. Like, can I just, because they were just talking about how they take wheels off of cars and they'll sell them as pre-owned accessories at dealers.
Sure.
Because, they'll test them first, of course, to make sure they're perfect.
Right.
So my immediate thought was like, can I buy those wheels at the very least? Let's make that happen. No, that was a big 9. That was not gonna fly either. I did find out, which made me feel a lot better later, because I asked some folks, head of communications of Mini Germany, and he did say that there were actually 2 of those cars made, and that the one that's a driver that has a full drivetrain in it is saved, and that is probably not crushed. Apparently, it's going to be saved.
Museum in the
I think this one exactly. I think this one was the one without the interior or anything else in it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Just an interesting note.
It's
and
funny.
Then the photo on the top of this, of course, is it looks like an electric Mini, right? It's got the wheels, it's got everything. But if you look close, very close, it's clearly got a gas cap in it.
Yeah, and it's a convertible.
But if you look, and there's other photos of it, it even has all the stickers and the wheels of that, super rare electric Mini convertible.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, that is, if you want to talk about unicorns, like that is a unicorn, which I thought was also hilarious. There was another electric Mini convertible there. I also had an amazing chance to blow up airbags in an X7. So before they crush the car, they have to detonate all of the explosive devices.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. You get this 8x10 kind of like panel of buttons that's tethered to the car, and you just click all the buttons. That's the job. And every button blows something up.
Nice.
Like, what more could you want?
That's like a dream job. I want that job.
It's amazing. But all in, like, super impressed. Like, the amount of effort that BMW goes to recycle these cars, it's really impressive. And I mean, they really do recycle them. Like 95% of it, the raw material is recycled.
It's funny because I've gotten into arguments before with people of differing opinions about electric cars. And they're like, well, it's going to be a big problem. What are we going to do with all those batteries? I mean, they can't recycle them. I mean, so people have these stupid, like, they read something on the internet. And I'm like, listen, we've been making cars in this world since the early 1900s. Have you ever once in your entire short, stupid life figured out what you do with any parts of those cars that we've been making since the early 1900s?
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Nobody does.
So I'm like, stop it with your stupid argument of electric cars and you can't recycle the batteries. They're bad for the environment.
The BMW does.
I know they do. But what I'm saying is, like, people have that attitude of like, we can't go electric because there's all these unrecycled, like, precious metals. And I'm like, do you have any idea what has been in cars since the early 1900s and how many of them are just in landfills right now?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, and electric cars like pose issues, as we know, especially some of them. I know, like, BMW and other manufacturers are focused on, non-rare earth materials, and I think there's kind of a coming revolution in that as well. So
but
I agree.
The point of it is, like you said, is that BMW has been thinking about this for a while and talking about recycling their cars. So it's all about sustainability and long-term sustainability. It's something that most car places don't think about, and they don't really broadcast and talk about a lot. And it's fascinating.
Well, and it's one of the reasons they brought us to this place. I mean, it was a really, really interesting visit that we would never normally go to. Well, and to round this out, bring it back to what we've been talking about, the new Mini. One of the key themes of this new car is the circular economy,
right?
Which the notion of, we're making products out of recycled materials, and oh, by the way, 95%, if not more, of this car is fully recyclable.
Yeah.
So it's the circular flow of refuse into a new product, and then the new product becoming old and becoming refuse, which then goes into a new product.
Yeah, and I remember the first time they started talking about that was when the i3 came out.
Yeah,
they said, like, this car's 95% recyclable, and that was like, oh, it's got cork dash and all this, all the cool stuff to it. And so it's something they've been thinking about for a while now, because that was years ago. So
yeah. But I mean, a lot of that though,
awesome,
is in this. I mean, the plastic that the i3, they were using recycled bottles. Mini's going to use that. The fabric in this, which was a lot of it recycled in the i3. Same thing with what we're going to see in the Mini. So a lot of that same thinking is in this car. It's just the next generation, so it's even further refined.
Nice. Go check all this stuff out. For sure, check this one out. And the new Mini stuff, obviously. Both those are going to be linked up in the show notes. And then I'm just going to remind you about the recyclability of BMWs going forward pretty much forever. So you might just want to go and bookmark it. So whenever I mention it, you can just say, okay, DB, I'll go open the page. Make things a lot simpler for us.
All right.
Awesome. That was a great update, Gabe. Thanks for self-embargoing yourself last week and saving it all for us this week. Very, very cool stuff.
Let's talk again soon.
Yeah.
Well, next Thursday, there's another big drop.
All right.
Let's talk about that later. We'll do it offline. But I guess we're going to go ahead and be done for this time. Does anybody have anything else?
No, I'm spent.
Okay, cool. That means I'm going to go and finish up. And I'm going to take up the last minute of your time this afternoon. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. As always, don't forget there's a brand new episode of Black Roof Radio available. You can get that over at blackroofradio.com or, however you get there. Free, download it, knock yourself out. Of course, if you wanted to kick in a couple bucks to help keep White Roof Radio listeners supported, that would be super amazing, awesome. And if you don't, that's totally cool too. You don't even have to. You download it wholly for free, blackroofradio.com. Also, because you guys have been kicking money, and also because I guess I'm just insane, Ride Bikes Radio is coming back. New episode in the feed. If you guys haven't gotten it yet, well, that's because there's some feed issues, and I'm working through those. But there'll be a new episode of Ride Bikes Radio in your feed soon. There'll be even more coming up soon. I've got Brian Dallas back on board. We got some really cool stuff planned. It's going to be awesome. Not only that, and you guys heard about this on Black Roof Radio as well, Hollywood Car Show is back with Fireball Tim. Anybody who enjoyed listening to that in the past, and it was always one of my favorite shows to do. We just talk about movies, cars and movies, and diecast cars. So much fun. HollywoodCarshow.com. Go check that one out as well. And then obviously go over to motoringstripes.com because you need. I bet you still need the Pride badge. Bet you didn't buy the Pride badge when we talked about that 2 weeks ago. So go over to motoringbadges.com and buy the Pride badge already. Good grief.
And Todd, I need to talk to you about stripes.
Okay. I'm your guy.
And then, of course, Detroit Tuned. Chad's not here this week, but we love Chad. And you guys always need to go check out what he's got over at DetroitTune.com. And, of course, if you're 5 hours from his shop, you're just using him anyway. And then all the OG sponsors. If you guys are looking for anything, first of all, news, you have to go to MotoringFile.com, period. Just go to MotoringFile.com. Stop going to the other websites that Google feeds you. No, they're wrong, and they're wrong because they're all copying from Gabe. Because Gabe's like one of the only ones that actually gets direct access to everybody at the corporate office for BMW. Nobody else gets that. The guys at Jalopnik don't get that anymore. They might, but I doubt it. Nobody else gets that. Do they?
Not usually.
Not usually. Gabe's one of the few that still gets that kind of access. MotoringFile.com, BimmerFile.com too, duh. Just do that, right? And then on Motoring.com, Craven Speed, Detroit Tuned. You don't need anything else. Done and done. Stop following those stupid links that you're seeing on Facebook. Those are dumb. Don't do that. Stop using Facebook. That's dumb. Don't do that.
Boom.
Sorry.
Boom.
I'm
Preach.
anti-algorithm.
Preach.
Anti-algorithm. Anyway, that's it for this week, King. Thanks very much for listening. We do appreciate it, but this is the part of the show where I like to make the funny clicking sound, and then I say, questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead, click back over to whiteroofradio.com. There you can leave us a note in the show notes. You can also email us, feedback, whiteroofradio.com. And until next time, gang, this is DB. I'm done.
Cheers.
Cheers.